In this video, we're going to learn how to use jQuery to reorder elements in a list or grid. We're going to use the same source code as in the previous file. So we already have our list of elements. So what we'd like to do, we want to be able to reorder these list items as we like. So we're going to write a simple statement. So we're going to access the list using its ID. The list ID is list. And then we're going to use a method. It's called sortable. Okay, at the moment we're not using any options inside the method, but let's see how it works. So we can see that it's working. We can rearrange the items as we like. Okay. All right. There are a few options for the sortable method that we can use. First, let's say we would like to see a placeholder. So when we are rearranging the elements, so if I drag the Mercedes elements, we know that it's going to be going at the top, but we would like to see a placeholder for the item before it gets dropped. So the option to use there, so first let's have some curly brackets. So we need an option called placeholder. So remember that all the options that they go inside the curly brackets. So option colon, and then we need to specify the style of the placeholder. Okay, let's go for a UI state highlights, for example. So let's refresh the page. So now we can see that we can see a placeholder there, and we can also see that the style is exactly what we chose. We can change that to UI state error, for instance. And we can see that this style has just changed. Okay, let's keep it highlights for now. Okay, now there are some occasions where we would need one specific item to be not sortable. So for instance, you might want the last item to be not sortable, which means that we can reorder everything else except for this element. So there is another option for that. It's called cancel. Usually we specify a class for this. If you use an ID for one specific item, it will work as well, but usually we use a class for this. So let's say we want to add a class to the Mercedes item. So let's give it a class and name it, for example, not sortable. And all we need to do is copy this class and put it there. Okay, so now if we try all the other elements, they are sortable, but we cannot drag the Mercedes item. All right, fine. Now we're gonna create another list inside the Microsoft div. So let's just copy paste the first list. Okay, and let's place it right after the link. All right, let's change the ID. So first one, let's give it list 1, and second one, let's call it list 2. Let me change the ID here as well. Okay, so now we want to make this list sortable as well. Before we do that, let's change the styling a little bit for the green box. Let's add some padding. 10 pixels. Okay, it looks better. And now let's make the second list sortable. So we need to access the list using its ID again, and we use the method sortable. And let's make sure it is working. Fine. Okay. Now we want both lists to exchange items. Okay, let's just change the values or text inside the list items. Let's put some other car makes. Okay, let's go for Ferrari, for example. That looks better. Okay, we're going to be using the same method, sortable. Okay, but we need to select both lists. So we need to select both lists. So first list using its ID, list 1, then comma, list 2. Okay? And then we're going to use the sortable method. And this time, we'll use another option inside the sortable method. It's called connect with. And basically we need one class to be shared between both lists. Okay? And the value of the option connect with is going to be that specific class. So first, let's give both lists the same class name. So we need to add a class for each list. So let's call this class connected list, for example. And we need the same class for the second list. And then we'll refer to this class in the option connects with. All right. Okay. So we can move items both from the first list to the second list and the opposite way as well. All right. Now, if we move all the items from the second list to the first list and we're going to move them back, we can't do that. Okay, and the reason why is because once the list is emptied from all the items, it doesn't take any space anymore inside in the document. So all we need to do is make sure that there is a minimum height for both lists. And for this, we can just style the new class we defined, connected list. Okay, and let's set the border style. Okay, so let's go for 1 pixel for width, and let's have solid border. And let's go for a color. Okay, let's go for some white color like that. Okay, so you can see here that our second list has collapsed. That's why we can't move any item from the first list to the second list. But now if we change the height or the min height, if we change the min height to 20 pixels, for example, so you can see that now we can still see the empty list, but let's try to move. We can see that now we can move elements from the first list to the second list. It's working just fine. Okay. All right. In the next video, we're gonna start looking at the jQuery UI widgets. So we're gonna start with accordion.